Today we're gonna talk about the shape of the earth. Is the earth flat? Is it round? Is it you know what I mean, a cube? And what do I believe?
Well, by the sounds of it, you'll believe anything you hear in a YouTube video. And as soon as you see the word truth in the name of a YouTube channel, you can be pretty certain that you're not going to hear any. So yeah, let's, please subscribe.
Well, first let me just take y'all back to how I started even thinking about the shape of the earth, right? I would always just believe that it was round, a globe. You know, anytime somebody told me the earth was flat, like this was growing up, anybody said the earth was flat, I would think they were just a reason. Especially because I would just hear, you know, mainstream media kind of shitting on people like that.
Yeah, I always beep out the R word. It's pretty unnecessary. There are so many other fun ways you can call somebody stupid. And by mainstream media, I'm guessing you mean the scientific community or news sources that report truthfully on scientific facts that oppose your own beliefs. I mean, what theorist worth their salt will let the truth and facts get in the way of a good conspiracy theory?
So then what happened was I started to kind of just, because I was already into conspiracy theories and stuff, so I would search for flat earth videos, and usually most of the videos I would find would just be videos that were trying to debunk the theory and trying to make it look stupid. And I kind of had to see past that too. Like, I had to read between those lines, because you know that that's what they do on YouTube. Whenever you're talking about something of some type of undercover knowledge, they will try to ban that. Like, they will try to shadow ban you and make sure nobody can hear it. They'll try to shadow ban you and make it seem like you're stupid, so nobody will take you seriously.
Interesting. How many times have we heard or seen a flat earther proclaim that they were already a conspiracy theorist prior to becoming a globe skeptic? Well, a lot. And the reason there are so many videos to be found of people like me mocking or debunking the flat earth is that it's so easy to do. The late great James Randi said, "No amount of belief makes something a fact." And he's right, because every single flat earther, without exception, has no proof at all that the earth is flat. Mainly because it isn't. All they have is a belief. They believe that the earth is flat, which is usually as a result of a complete lack of understanding of science or an inbuilt mistrust of anyone that they see as being in a position of power. Case in point, YouTube shadow banning flat earth information. They don't. They just choose not to push that sort of content out to people, or maybe most flat earthers are just too preoccupied to take the time to optimize their videos.
But this is what I believe right now. I don't think the earth is flat like a disc or round like a globe or spherical. I think that we live inside of a dome, and the surface of the earth that we live on is flat, like, you know, a plane, right?
Well, I stand corrected. You don't think the earth is flat, you think that the earth is flat. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And of course, the dome, another fascinating part of some flat earthers' beliefs, that the evidence for seems to elude even the most astute of flat earthers, if there are any.
Like you know, a flat surface with hills, and, you know, it can be hills and roads and mountains on that flat surface under a dome. And then I think that beneath us is, you know, some real deep grounds or whatever, you know what I mean? So technically it wouldn't be flat, but I do think that we live on a flat surface underneath of a dome.
Are you following this? Technically it wouldn't be flat, although he does think we live on a flat surface under a dome and the deep ground below flat earth. How deep though? Infinite, or does it stop somewhere? If so, where? And what's it resting on? Because obviously space is fake, so it can't just be floating around in a place that a lot of flat earthers say doesn't really exist. So where are we?
For the sake of the argument, I'm gonna hop on the flat earth wave and say that the earth is flat, because a lot of what I'm gonna be talking about has to do with the flat earth theory, right? And people will say, "Oh my gosh, why have we never been to the edge of the earth? Why have we never been to the dome and seen the dome?"
Well, they seem like perfectly reasonable questions to me, so why haven't we? Apart from the fact that there isn't one.
That's because the edge of the earth is Antarctica, right? And we all know that when you go to Antarctica, they have certain guidelines in place for the tourists, and you can't really be there for that long. Like, you can't be there without any government supervision. Why is that?
But that just isn't true on all counts. Every continent in the world has guidelines that visitors must adhere to. So why would Antarctica be any different? Guests have to comply with the visitation rules, be respectful of the facilities and equipment, and always obtain permission before going. Now, I know you don't need permission to go to other countries necessarily, but this isn't quite the same thing. Going to Antarctica means getting to see penguins, whales, seals, seabirds, and many other rare species. But I can promise you one thing you won't see, and that's the edge of the Earth. Because spheres don't have edges. An edge is where two faces meet. For example, a cube has 12 edges, a cylinder has 2, but a sphere has none.
And it kind of makes sense if you just if you flatten the Earth out and put Antarctica around it. That is the ice wall. That is the wall around the Earth, and I believe that the dome is on the outskirts of it starts maybe on the outskirts of Antarctica. But this is the thing though, the dome doesn't have to be a glass dome, you know what I mean? It could be
imaginary,
part of the atmosphere. It could be just something that we can't penetrate, but I think that we're enclosed in that type of way.
But we have penetrated But we have penetrated it many, many times. In fact, every time we send a new satellite into orbit or we send people up to the ISS, there's a good reason why so many flat earthers deny space as well, especially the ones that think we live inside a giant snow globe. It's just lie stacking. When you claim to believe something as ridiculous as flat earth, you very quickly find yourself having to lie about many other things to try and explain the earth being flat, because there certainly isn't a single flat earther in existence that can demonstrate that the earth is flat for obvious reasons.
I think that the sun and the moon and the stars are inside of the dome with us. That's why if you ever seen a shooting star or a rocket ship go up in the air, it always has to turn and kind of curve a little bit.
Rockets curve when they fly into space instead of going straight up. If a rocket flew straight up, then it would fall right back down to Earth when it ran out of fuel. Rockets have to tilt to the side as they travel into the sky in order to reach orbit, or a circular path of motion around the Earth. This information is so easy to find. The problem is that when flat earthers find it, they have to do one of two things. Either call BS, which is pretty standard, or, well, there is no or. Any piece of information that shows what they are saying is false, they just dismiss. So why exactly do flat earthers think that rockets curve on takeoff? I'm almost too scared to ask, even though I just did.
Because it's gonna hit the dome. There was an experiment that somebody did where they shot a rocket up in the air and then it kind of just hit something and then it came back down.
And now I'm sorry I asked. No, it isn't because they don't want to hit the dome. And let's see this experiment then, which I am sure will just be a zero context video clip. So no impact noise, no rapid change in direction, no explosion. It just stopped when it hit the dome. Shall we look at that video without the parts that devastate flat earthers being edited out? The title of the video is Go Fast Rocket Proves Earth is Round. Left that little detail out though, didn't they? And after he cuts it, this is what the GoPro on the rocket shows. Now I don't want to shock you, but whichever flat earther redid this video wasn't exactly honest in the way they went about it. Apart from the title spelling it out, it shows us that the Earth is round. And as far as the sudden drop in speed, it was probably because the rocket had used up the fuel it needed to get into orbit, at which point this happens. Funny that, isn't it? A video that a flat earther has used to prove that the dome is actually real shows us that the Earth is a globe.
And then you look at the pictures from space of the Earth, it's so many different pictures if you just look on Google. Why is that? They're all edited. Now, that's not to say that you can't still take a picture of the real Earth. Okay, but why do they have to edit all of the pieces of the images? See, basically what I'm saying is, bro, there's no proof of anything. There's no proof of either or. But I just feel like there's more evidence to say that it's not what they tell us. Because as I said in my last video, you have to take the red pill and understand everything for what it is, and understand that everything that they told you is a lie.
At this point, I do feel it's only fair to point out that this is a brand new channel created on April the 4th, and that he has 2 subscribers. But it would be remiss of me not to notice for myself and point out to you watching that this guy has clearly been watching a lot of Eric Dubé videos. Because like every other new flat earther I've ever come across, it's really easy to see where they get their information from. And this guy seems to get his from Eric Dubé.
Everything is basically used for like a system, bro. A system of, you know what I mean? Like, it's like they indoctrinate you from when you little, bro, about everything. They do. That's a fact. So I'm not ruling this out.
We can see that. But what you and the people you've been watching on YouTube call indoctrination, the average person calls education. There's a very good reason why only a tiny percentage of people on Earth subscribe to the flat Earth theory. And it's because, well, every village has an idiot. And in this case, the world is the village and flat earthers are the idiots.
They might be trying to indoctrinate us with this as well. You might say, why would they lie to you about the shape of the Earth? Why do they lie to you about anything? So, furthermore, I believe that the sky, they might say, how do you explain the sky?
Again, I'm almost afraid to ask, but go on. How do you explain the sky?
The sky is water, bro. The sky is water. And I'm gonna put a model up here on the screen to kind of show y'all. The sky is water. There's water all around us.
That isn't a model, it's an illustration drawn up by either a complete moron, in which case they have no excuse, or this is a very old illustration drawn up before anybody knew any better. But in either case, it does not represent reality by any stretch of the imagination.
So people that say like, even if the Earth is flat or not completely spherical, then how are we still kind of floating? Like, what's holding us up? And I think we're floating in water. If we're floating, you know what I mean? We could be really stationary, but there is water around us. If you look at the Bible, if you read the Bible, right?
There you go, the Bible. It's always the bloody Bible. The Bible doesn't say the Earth is flat. And did you see it? Not a single person has been on the moon or out to space. Oh, this guy loves a bit of Eric Dubé, doesn't he?
It talks about how God created the firmament and the waters that are above and the waters that are below, and separated the waters with the firmament. Now, I'm not a Christian. I'm not a devout Christian, but I do treat all like historical texts the same way. Like, I take it all with a grain of salt, and I kind of just read it for what it is, because you can kind of interpret things the way that you want, but really what you have to do is look at it for what it is, like for what it says. These are like foundations. You just gotta really think about shit for what it is, bro. There's water all around us. That's what it said. And
well, maybe for somebody like you, a grain of salt just isn't enough. Can I suggest that you try a bucket of salt, or maybe even a dump truck full of salt? The Bible, or any other ancient religious text, is not to be taken literally, and most certainly not to be referenced as if it was some sort of scientific text. You are right, though. You can interpret the Bible in any way you want. Although, with that being said, if people did as you suggest, and take it for what it is, there wouldn't be people trying to use it to prove the shape of the Earth.
Because look, in 1955, like, I'm gonna just give y'all some facts real quick, bro.
Why start now? So far, all you've given us is the impression that you've watched a little too much of Eric Dubé.
In 1955, they came out with Operation Deep Freeze.
But the purpose of Operation Deep Freeze was to airlift fuel and supplies to the National Science Foundation's South Pole Station, so that its personnel could survive the isolation of the long Antarctic winters. And also, the Antarctic Treaty does not prevent tourists, military personnel, or scientific researchers from being present in Antarctica. It just means they require an appropriate permit from a treaty party.
So then right after that, in 1958, they come out with NASA. So NASA is established after that shit with Antarctica. Then, a year after that, they have the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. And the treaty basically implement it. It basically enforced what I just said. Like,
oh my word, this guy is a dumbass. The primary purpose of the Antarctic Treaty is to ensure, in the interests of all mankind, that Antarctica shall continue forever to be used exclusively for peaceful purposes and shall not become the scene or object of international discord. To this end, it prohibits military activity except in support of science.
does that not sound like something fishy is going on? Speaking of fishy, in 1962, they come out with Operation Fishbowl.
Yeah, I think I can see where this one is going. He's gonna say that we were trying to blow up or break through the dome, isn't he? Operation Fishbowl was a series of high-altitude nuclear tests that were carried out by the United States as part of the larger Operation Dominic nuclear test program.
And basically what that is they started firing missiles up into the air like they trying to break the dome or some shit. And then Fishbowl, like, so, bro, it just like, these are the things that you got to think about. And then basically from then on, you know what I mean, you have the antics of NASA, what they were doing with the moon landing, and basically everything that they told us since then.
Nailed it. So because the operational name Fishbowl was given to this research program, it means that we live under a dome. So there we have it. Another flat earther straight out of the Eric Dubé fan club. Now, I wouldn't mind if when I came across a new flat earth channel, they actually had their own new arguments, but every single time, without fail, all I find is somebody who is gullible enough to fall for the nonsense that gets spouted by other flat earthers. Love you, bye.
Alright, watch this next. But before you do, make sure you subscribe. By order of the Creaky Blinder.